Hi, everybody. Recruiting Animal here on June 29, 2022. There's three people here, actually, not just me. Oh, well, now it looks like just me. Okay, there was somebody else. Who's here? Ivan, are you still here? Ivan is doing something else. He's here listening. And was it Linda?
I'm still here. I just didn't want to show you the
You don't
ceiling
have,
as I'm logging
no,
onto my
you don't have to. Do you
computer.
want to introduce yourself, though? I can't remember. I don't know. I never met her before. She says I did, but I don't remember. Want to tell us what you do, who you are?
Hi, I'm Linda Warren. I'm a tech recruiter currently at Amazon. Have been recruiting for over 20 years, primarily in tech.
Okay. So I've got a bunch of, is there anything special you want to talk about? Because I've got a lot of questions that I prepared. Do you have anything you want to talk about? Any burning issues?
Just kind of get some thoughts about where you see recruiting going, because we've been in a boom. Now we could very well be heading into a bust. What are your thoughts?
It's not of any interest to me. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on. Okay. But first, I want to say something to Michael G. Cox. He's a regular on the show. You might have heard him before, Linda. And his wife has pretty bad cancer. And a friend of theirs started a GoFundMe to pay for the medical bills. So her name is Ariella, Iriela Cox. And so if you go to GoFundMe and look up Ariella Cox, I think you'll see something there. Okay, now on with the show. Here's a question. Is perfume on men okay? Here's why I'm asking. The New York Times published an article this week. It said the perfume industry is changing. Smaller, niche perfume brands are advertised as gender neutral, okay? So I was wondering if a male candidate wore a gender neutral perfume to an interview, would that affect his chances at getting the job? Now, I'm going to give a little background information. A perfume is 30% essential oils, okay? A parfum, P-A-R-F-U-M, which is a French word, that's the same thing, but less oils. And then a cologne, which you usually associate with a man, is like a 2%, a very low amount of essential oil. So you get a different scent and not that much of it. So if you had a candidate going out to an interview and he wore not a cologne, but a gender neutral perfume, Linda, would you consider that a problem?
Well, it depends upon how heavy they put it on. I've had men who come in with regular colognes and they keep it to a minimum, but then others like take a bath in it. And I would assume the same thing would happen with a gender neutral.
Well, a perfume is stronger, much stronger than a cologne, okay? So you're thinking it's a problem. That's what I'm hearing from you. Yes? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to get upset if I press you. You know how the Recruiting Animal show works, okay? So, I got to get clear answers. I also think it would be a problem. And that doesn't mean I'm an enemy of progress, okay? I just want everybody to know. Ivan, do you want to comment on perfume? No. Okay.
I just dropped out the call, so can you repeat the thing? I will comment on it.
Comment on it. Yeah, okay. Perfume. There's gender neutral perfumes now, okay? And a perfume is the same as a cologne, only it's got a lot more oils in it, so it's stronger. If one of your candidates went out to an interview wearing a perfume instead of a cologne, a man, would it be an issue?
You can do both, as long as you don't disturb people.
Yeah,
with
okay,
whatever
fine. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's not an answer. I shouldn't have repeated myself. Okay, what about this? Let me see. There was a big discussion on my Facebook group about Roe versus Wade. Ivan, that's the abortion law in the United States. Maybe you're not listening, so I won't bug you anymore. I know you're busy with something else. But Linda knows, and the Supreme Court just overturned Roe versus Wade. It's like the biggest thing going right now. And people are complaining that on LinkedIn, which is a professional network, there's tons of discussion about abortion and abortion law, okay? And the people, to my surprise, the recruiters were all over the place. Some people were saying, absolutely no way anybody should discuss their political opinions on a professional network. They're just opening themselves up to be hated by other people. And there's going to be all kinds of irrelevant issues coming into the hiring process. But other people said, hey, you do business with people you know, okay? So you want people to know what you think. You should be wide open about all your opinions, and then you become a person. You're not just a shallow, I don't know, matchstick person, the same as every other recruiter. You're a full-fledged person they can relate to, and that's going to make them want to work with you. Linda, do you have an opinion?
I don't think it belongs on LinkedIn, because no matter what your opinion is, there's a very strong dissenting opinion. And I think that can bite you in the butt in the
Okay,
long
but
run,
here's his
no matter
point.
which side you choose.
I'm thinking of my good friend in Australia, no, Japan actually, but he's an Australian, Tyron Giuliani, who is a LinkedIn coach. And he said, here's what I think he would say. Okay, some people aren't going to like you because you're talking about women's rights, you're talking about your religion, whatever, but you're going to be much more attractive to people who do like you. Okay, so it balances it out. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking here of a recruiter interested in business development, or maybe even in attracting candidates. You're going to turn some people off, as you said, but you're going to make yourself much more attractive to others. Do you think it balances out?
No.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add to that, or should we drop it?
I would just say there's other things that can humanize you rather than putting up information about like Roe versus Wade.
Like what? Putting out your kids and dogs and cats, pictures of your cat? Is that what you're what humanizes you? I want to know.
I do off-roading in my Subaru out in the desert.
What do you do? Off-roading on a
off-roading? Yeah.
What's that? One of those little bikes that?
No, I have a Subaru. It's outfitted to be able to take on mountain roads. Yeah.
A car. Okay, like I'm not a macho car guy, so I don't even know what off-roading is. What is it? You go into the desert. You're in Phoenix,
yes.
And you're in a race.
You go out into the desert. Go in a lot of trails that are like forest trails, and go up those, and it's fun. You get to see a lot of. So you think people should talk about hobbies, not politics? What if their hobbies is guns? Mm-hmm.
Talk about guns. That's okay.
Guns is controversial. I would not put anything about my.
What about hunting? What about hunting? Those are gun guys. Yeah, hunting's okay.
I would say yes.
Okay. But anyway, here's what Tyron said. He said, people don't care about your business till they care about you. So engage others and show what you're about. The change to more social on LinkedIn is much better for recruiters. It allows you to collect data and then use it to form real relationships. Relationships are the best way to differentiate yourself. So I think I represented his point of view very well. Other people said it's inappropriate to discuss anything but business or career on LinkedIn. Politics and Roe versus Wade have no place there. Okay, that's what people believe. Okay, here's a new topic. You know, Jerry, you might remember Jerry from the days of audio on the Recruiting Animal Show. He always said that to be a good recruiter, you've got to be ready to take a $50,000 hit. Now, you're a corporate recruiter, so there's no commission involved, but corporate recruiters also have similar problems of fall-offs and turn downs. So this guy posted on Facebook a sad story this week. He said, in the last week, I've lost 5 placements. 2 were from counteroffers. 1 was a fall off and 2 were failed background checks. And then he gave us a little background on that. He said, as much as I prepped my candidates, I prepared my candidates on counteroffers, but they still got them and they still took them. Okay, so he lost 2 people to counteroffers. He said the failed background checks, one of them was shocking. The other guy was a moron, so I was almost happy that he failed. And the fall-off guy took another job within the 30-day guarantee period. Okay, so this guy, he's taken what Jerry said literally. He probably lost close to $50,000 on those fees. And I agree with what Jerry said. He's just got to buck up. And like Ernie says, no drama. You got a sad thing that happens, move on to the next call. Do you have any advice for recruiters about that, Linda?
You know, I've done agency recruiting, and I remember what it's like with having, you know, your commission being, you know, impacted like that. It happens to all of us, whether you're corporate, agency recruiting, whatever it is. Our jobs are very unpredictable. We work with people, they're unpredictable.
But
You
listen to
never know
this.
what's gonna
Here's what he
happen.
said. He did all that prep about counteroffers, and it didn't make any difference. And that's sort of my impression. You know, you can talk your head off about counteroffers. You're friends with Amy Miller, however, and she says counteroffers, there's nothing wrong with them. All this stuff about them not being good, that's false. They are good. And so the fact is, if Amy's right, even if she's wrong and they're no good, they are persuasive. And you can talk your head off and say, you know, don't take a counteroffer for X, Y, Z reasons. It's just going to fall on deaf ears. Would you agree with that? Or do you think that recruiters can really immunize their candidates against counteroffers? And since your company, Amy says everybody who comes to your company has like tons of other offers at the same time. So you're dealing with multiple offers. Not counted, it's a little different, but similar. Sorry, over to you.
It happens. And no matter what you say, they're going to do what they feel. Sometimes I've had my candidates tell me what their counteroffer is. And sometimes it's like, okay, take it. That is the better deal for them. Now, what ends up happening is a lot of times those same candidates come back in a year, year and a half, and they're like, yeah, you're right. That counteroffer was not the best choice. And then I work with them as a candidate again.
Okay, but hold on a second. Are you saying that the counteroffers in principle are generally not worth taking? Or are you saying some are good, some are bad?
I think some are good and some are bad. Most of the time, though, it's the company offering out a desperation. And the people who are accepting the counteroffers, typically it's a reason why they're leaving. Usually it's work-life balance or something like that. And that stays the same. Yeah, they've got more money, but their original reasons for leaving are still there.
So you think counteroffers are really focused on money as opposed to the other issues? You think the other issues are not changeable? That's interesting, because lots of people do say they will accommodate you in other ways. Okay. So you're saying it's usually a money issue, and that's not enough to make it tolerable for very long. So you're taking, although you didn't state it, you're taking the traditional recruiter's approach to counteroffers. They're usually worthless, right? Act of desperation. They just want to hold on to you. They don't really care about you. Okay. And you're going to be sorry in the end. And I can tell you a million stories about the people who didn't listen to me and they came crawling back. Linda, please, I'm sorry. Help me. That's your view, isn't it? Essentially.
I would say yes.
Okay.
Most
I added
of the
a
time,
little
that's
drama.
what happens.
You haven't been on the show enough, but you have to add a little zest for the audience. I got to tell you, about 3 people listen to the show every week now on YouTube. Okay, so we gotta please those people. What about this? It's a related issue. Never make offers on Friday. Don't give them the weekend to talk to their friends and have people tell them they're worth more. Let them come into work on Monday morning to a job they don't like, and then hit them at 11 a.m. with the offer. Then they've only got a day or two during that week to think about it, and they're already, you know, as while they're thinking about it, they're having all the things they don't like make them want to leave. So I think that's a good idea. Better give it on a Monday than a Friday. What do you think?
Good idea. I had never thought of it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think that's a great idea. Do it on Mondays.
Okay, so if you get an offer for your candidate on a Thursday, would a recruiter be able to say to herself, I'm not gonna rush and try to get it accepted right away. I'm gonna wait a few days. I think that's it's like trying to resist eating when there's something delicious in front of you. Okay, I mean, you're going to be sorry, but I think it's hard to resist. You feel free to just jump in, okay, whenever you want to talk about something. Okay, here's a woman, recruiter, headhunter. She said, I'm about to start a rather ambitious marketing campaign of mailing female C-suite executives of medium-sized companies with 200 to 500 staff. I'm going to send them an introductory letter accompanied by a promotional gift. What would you appreciate receiving in the mail as a CEO? I find it odd to, send stuff out to executives of one sex only, first of all. Secondly, I don't know if that's a good idea. I have different points of view, but I'm going to ask your view. What do you think of that first? You think it's a good idea, and what should she send if so? Are you following what I said? You seem out of it. Linda, can
Oh,
you
you're
hear me?
talking to me?
Yeah, there's nobody
Oh,
else
I'm
here.
sorry. I missed that. I thought you were talking to someone else.
There's nobody. He's maybe even listening. I don't know if he's listening. He's up in the ether somewhere. Although I have to tell you, if you thought there might have been 6 people here and you could have just left whenever you want, you can still leave whenever you want. I have no investment. Just feel free. I want you to be comfortable. You can come back again without feeling any obligation. Do you think, first of all, it's smart to send out, if you're a woman, to send out stuff to just women, okay, that they've got some kind of lean in girl boss thing going on with each other, that it's better for rapport, that I shouldn't do that, but she should. Secondly, what should she send for a gift? Should you send a gift to somebody as a business development gambit? And what can she send? Okay, what do you think? 3 questions I asked you.
So I think that sending out is just introductory to women. I think that has a little bit of sleaziness to it. But if it's tied with some sort of an event, that would be different. I used to participate when I worked at American Express, something called Power to Fly. It was to generate women, and that's who was targeted mostly. But we didn't just send it out to women, it was sent out to men. Even though the focus was very heavily on women, sending a gift, I don't know what a CEO is going to like. They get a lot of junk from other suppliers. So if you send them a pen, that's stupid. I don't know what kind of
One woman said, send out great books. A book is a burden. You're busy. Maybe you don't want to read it. But Rich Rosen had an answer. Rich, Super Rich, who's usually here, he might even show up today. And I remember he told us this before, bangcookies.com, BANG cookies.com, especially the sea salt caramel. So you can order a bunch of cookies, and as long as they're not a health nut, they'll eat the cookies. I don't know if it's going to help them, like you. They might see it as a cheap bribe. Okay. That's always a possibility with these gifts. Okay. But if they like the cookies and they trust them and think there's no anthrax or something, in them, then they will enjoy them. Okay. It will be a good gift. What do you think about that? Bang cookies, sending cookies, high-end cookies.
High-end cookies.
Yeah, he's yeah, you like it? Okay, high-end cookies, okay. And but somebody else, another woman said gimmicks are not compelling. Take the time to research them individually instead of mass mailing and speak to that. What do you think? I'm with that. That's my option.
Okay. An individual approach is always better.
Although if Rich is sending out cookies and he's making $1 million a year, maybe I'm wrong, okay? Because I ain't making $1 million a year. Okay, next question. Okay. How would you respond? Okay, so I'm working on a director level role. This is another woman speaking. I'm working on a director level role, and the candidate told me that she wants to be considered. She was enthusiastic about the job. Then she sent me a note after a weekend. She said, on further thought, in light of the role Texas played in the Roe versus Wade decision, we're back there again. I am not keen on pursuing any work opportunities based in Texas or in brackets or Idaho. Okay. So what would you say? Okay. You're from the Southwest, or maybe you've got a better frame of reference than I do.
I think that's ridiculous.
Why?
Honestly, I just do. You know, if you've got a good opportunity, you need to take care of your family, wherever that opportunity could take you. And then if you do go to one of these states, because now it's become a state issue, go to the state, work on getting it changed.
Oh, okay.
Get
Well,
involved.
that's another issue. You know, that's who knows when that could be affected, if it ever will. Okay, so but what would you say to her? Say, listen, I just don't think that's a wise move. Would you actually say that, or would you say, please, can well, maybe we'll do business in the future, for one of the other states?
I would let her know that that's, not a wise move, that she is turning down the potential of an opportunity for her career and her family.
Mhm.
And just leave it at that. Let her know, come back again in the future.
I think she thinks she'd hate a lot of the people she was working with, and that it would cause personal friction. Okay. Okay. Here's a woman. I got a lot of notes from women recruiters today. She says the only reason employers don't want to tell candidates the salary, if the only reason they're not transparent right from the start about the compensation plan is because they want to lowball the candidate. So I always tell the candidate how much we're offering, and I tell them the max. I want to know if it's a job they're willing to invest time in getting, and I want them to have the power when they negotiate. How many great candidates have been lost when they speak to hiring managers who try to offer lower than the asking rate? So I guess she wants to take that opportunity away from the hiring managers by telling them, look, they know the range. If you lowball them, they're going to know it. She said, candidates move jobs to get more money or more growth. So we have to know if there's a basis for speaking to each other right off the bat as soon as possible. So A, tell them the salary, and B, tell them the max. Lots of people don't say, they say, leave me some wiggle room. I'll tell them the low end of the range, and that lets me say, okay, well, we'll come up. What do you think, Linda?
In my current role, we cannot discuss the salary, even
That's
though in
the
some
rule.
states it's already posted. But I work with every candidate to find out what they're looking for in their next job. And I'm like, well, just at least tell me a range and I can say yes or no, you're in the range. And it's not to lowball the candidate. I get them as much as possible and I go to fight for them for comp. It's based upon their skill level.
So why is it, I don't want to get you in trouble. Okay. So don't answer any questions that you think might come back to bite you. Okay. Just in case, who knows who's going to see this, but why are you not allowed to talk about salary? It's to keep the company. Yeah. It's to keep the company in a better negotiating position. That's the reason. It's the only possible reason. Although sometimes I would tell people, go ahead.
Positions, I'm always looking at the high end. I don't look, of course we all have that low, middle, and high, but I'm always leaning toward the high end just because the talent that I'm finding is really good. They deserve it. And I don't take a look at anything else other than their skills and how their interviews went.
Okay, but here's what the contrary view is. If they hear the high number, that's what they expect. They might not get it, okay? And they're going to be disappointed. So, I tell them where the comp starts and I ask if this is in line with their expectations. I never tell them the full range. That's what the opposition to this spill your guts recruiter
And that's
okay.
hard. They will take the high end. You know, when candidates are speaking to the recruiter, they often hear what they want to hear. So they will hear the high end, and a lot of times they don't pay attention to what that low end is.
Okay, so I would, this is where I was kind of slippery, I have to admit. And because these were jobs that, for instance, I'm thinking of project manager building a hospital. I knew there was some wiggle room there. I didn't know how much. So I would tell them, you know what? I'm looking for people. My high end is around 100, and this is, you know, let's say 120 or 150, whatever it is. I said, but you never know. I said, if they really like you, they might stretch. I'm not promising it. And I actually had a candidate go out once, and I had trouble getting him out there because he was so young. And once they saw him, they offered him $10,000 more than their supposed limit was. He still turned them down. He was too good. He was too good for them. But the point is, sometimes a company will stretch. Now, some companies have very rigid salary bands, or everybody knows what everybody's earning, and if you pay one person more than the other, you're going to have to, you know, give everybody a raise. So I understand there's problems, but I think the future is total openness with salary. Everybody's going to know, and I don't know how it'll work out in the long run, but I think that's the future. Would you agree with me? Yes or no? No, that's a no. Okay, that's a no. Okay, how to win at cold calls? This is from Donna, who used to be a regular on the show. She's taking voice lessons right now. Okay, she scheduled them during the recruiting animal show. Maybe she couldn't avoid it. Okay, anyway, she said, I might call 200 people before someone ever answers the phone. She said, and the first person to answer might possibly tell me off for bothering them. So why on earth would anyone keep doing this? Because sometimes on call number 202, the person answers who is in desperate need of a change. And I know she's doing quite well after a year or so in the business. Would you agree with Donna? Do you make phone calls, by the way? I don't know. Maybe, do you make phone calls? Yeah.
I start with an email, follow up with every candidate. If I have their phone number, I will send an email and then follow it up with, typically ends up being a voicemail, but I call them too.
Okay, so when do you send the email? What time of day? Any special time?
No,
Okay. Do you
no
follow up
special.
with a phone call the same day or the next day? How long is it till you
I try
phone
to
them?
do it the same day, but if not, within 24 hours.
What do you say on that voicemail?
Hey, I sent you an email. Take a look at it. We're hiring directors. You look like a great fit.
You know, you
How
sound
about throwing
friendlier
accent?
when you're talking to that person than when you're talking to me. Okay, I just want you to know. I
Mm-hmm.
like the way, yeah, you got that kind of, hi, it's Linda. Okay, I just want you to know, and I like it. I think it's good. Oh, what's your response rate on those voicemails? How many voicemails will you leave? You know, Rich Rosen, he's our grade on top end of the show, moneymaker. He, not everybody does what he does though. Okay, he says never let up. Okay, that's just like the Tom Tuna rule. Cold call until one of you dies. Okay, and so Rich says the more they hear from you, the better. Okay, you're just advertising your name, and he doesn't think there's any fear of having a negative reaction. Oh yeah, I know Rich. He left me 100 voicemails. Do you take the same point of view? 20 voicemails, they'll know who Linda is. Is that your view?
I'll know who Linda is. If they haven't returned my email or my voicemail, then I go back and will alternate between a voicemail and an email, trying to reach out to them to get them.
What frequency? How often will you send it, and how often will you phone them? And what's the maximum number of calls and emails that you'll send? That's what I'm asking you.
I would probably do, I don't keep emailing 4 or 5 times, but I learned a great trick from my buddy, Amy Miller.
Yeah.
One of her last emails or even a voicemail is something like, I've been reaching out to you for a while. Obviously, you're not interested. So I'll just go ahead and proceed with other candidates for these opportunities. Leave it short, sweet, and a lot of times by the time you're telling them, I don't want you.
How many contacts when you get to that point?
I would probably do about 8.
8. Okay. There's a name for that. That's the normal name is the pull away, but it's also called the breakup email. Okay.
Exactly.
I like that one. Cute. I only learned it this year, but I knew it for a long time as the pull away. And does that pull away work?
It's interesting. A lot of time, I've had, radio silence from these candidates. Suddenly, when you're doing the breakup or the pull away, they're like, oh, whoa, 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 wait, now you don't want me? What's wrong with me? And they respond.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And is most of your work on the phone, or do you do Zoom calls with everybody?
I do Zoom calls.
Why?
I want to build that rapport face to face, kind of with that candidate, get to know them, understand how they present themselves, because I am placing very high level talent at Amazon. So I also want to see what their demeanor is like. And
Really?
see
That's
me.
an issue?
That way it creates that
Oh,
relationship.
so these aren't just IT developers who are going to work on their own and no? Okay. Okay. So please don't say anything that will cause you problems with your company. That's always a concern of mine. I'm kind of sorry that we know your company, but so far I don't think we're going to cause you any problems. Although I will raise an issue. Amy, who's a good friend of mine as well, she's always talking about things I hate. Okay. She says mansplaining, mansplaining, mansplaining. Are most of your candidates men?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Are they mansplaining you? Are they treating you like a dummy and telling you things you know already as if you're a goof?
Occasionally. I don't think it happens quite as frequent. I love Amy, but I know she likes to be controversial.
Okay, yeah, that's an understatement, but it sounds to me like she believes this stuff with a passion. I don't know. Like there must be. I always say that, I've said it here before. I think I live in a bubble. There's terrible things happening all around me that I'm just completely unaware of. I mean, I never talk over Amy, except on the show. Everybody here talks over everybody. Okay, that's the rule. It's a little different than real life. Okay.
I have most of the mansplaining coming from peers within my organization or leadership.
Okay, there is mansplaining, and it's different from womansplaining?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
It's more
'Cause,
condescending, actually.
yeah, okay. And womansplaining is nagging? Is that it? Because those
women
are all
never nag.
stereotypes.
We never nag. We just
Okay,
remind.
yeah, those are all stereotypes. Okay, what about this one? Avoiding negatives. How can we know? This is a real problem for me. For instance, we've had a guest on here, Thomas Shimuro Premizic, and he's a specialist in personality testing. He's got a PhD, teaches at Columbia, and he's a VP, or he was a VP. I think he's a VP at Manpower still as well. And he was a VP at Hogan Assessments as well. Anyway, so I always want, but the recruiters all hate these personality assessments. But how can we know that one candidate likes to help people and another will demand help or expect it, but is reluctant to give it? Just like people we meet in life, we don't know what they're like. Okay. Sometimes until you marry them. Okay. And then one person is patient and another isn't. How can you tell that in an interview? One person is a misery for the first few hours of every morning. How can we know? I'll tell the hiring manager or the client, I really like this person. They're so much fun to talk to. It might not be like that on Monday morning at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. Well, what's the story with that? Do you have a bad, are you nervous about that like I am?
I don't like personality tests, but again, you don't know what you're going to get. But to me, that brings diversity to the teams. And
some kinds of diversity you don't want. You don't want mean, nasty, selfish people. That's not diversity.
Well, some of those people can produce some of the best work.
Maybe. They're geniuses, right? Crazy geniuses.
Right. And you put up with a lot of crap from them because they are geniuses.
Okay. So I guess that settles it. You're not worried about that stuff at all. You don't do personality, but what do you ever talk to a hiring manager and say, look, I really like this person, or watch out, she's prickly?
I've talked to them after they've been hired, and sometimes they're like, hey, this person.
The horse is out of
oh
the
my gosh,
barn,
she's got the
dear.
foulest mouth.
Too late.
Too late. But I always ask, but what are they contributing?
Okay.
And would you hire them again? And usually it's yes.
Okay, here I saw something interesting. This recruiter posted, recruiters have to be cheerleaders. They're always acting as gatekeepers only. They're always, focused on the opportunity, and they miss out on the candidates who need somebody to advocate for them and encourage them. That's like the recruiter who's just a hustler. I just want to serve my company. I don't care about you at all. And this person is saying that's bad for business, okay? Because you're missing out on people who just need a little extra work. What's your take on that?
I totally believe in that. I've worked with candidates who needed a little extra help or polish.
Like?
And I've worked with them
example.
for years.
What?
Some of them I have worked with for years. And they come back to me and they have grown. So sometimes that little bit of extra work, even though it's not really part of our recruiter description, sometimes taking that time, it's just worth it to help.
Give me an example.
someone.
Polish. What does it mean? Say, you don't pronounce that word properly. What are you talking about?
Recently I've worked with a kid who has only worked like help desk and helped him with his interviewing, how he presents himself, how he answers questions, worked on the resume. His resume was horrible. And he was able to get his first job with a nice, reputable company in IT.
I tend to think, and I've said it here before, the customer service people, and I assume help desk people, help desk, they are special. They're superior. They don't get agitated, and they've got jerks, or not just jerks, but people who are having problems and who are upset, and they call it out and they take it out on them. And maybe the company is not set up properly, so there's 30 minutes or an hour waiting on the line till you finally get in touch with them, and that person's mad. And yet these people have to be civil and polite and calm. And you're saying a person who does that job doesn't know how to go into an interview? I have trouble believing that. What was wrong with his interview?
I think it was
ability?
just his age and his lack of experience.
Okay, well, I don't.
And so this was getting him out of help desk to become.
But he knows how to talk to people. They know better than anybody how to manage.
Not in an interview. That's where people trip up a lot, is in their interview. They get too much in their head. I needed to make him comfortable in answering these questions.
Okay.
Comfortable in responding back to ambiguity.
Now, how many years did it take? Because you said you cultivate them over a number of years. Or did you get this guy a job right off the bat?
So this is what I worked with recently. It took me a few months. We would have a lot of conversations and do some interview prep. But I've had candidates that I've worked with who had started somewhat at entry level positions. And as they have moved up in their career, I have helped them like with their resumes, because
Really?
their resume that they have as an entry level is going to change. And my most successful one is now a VP at a global organization.
Wow. Okay. And your employer, is this with your current employer? They don't mind you spending time giving these people career coaching? Because it can be very time consuming.
They don't ask me, quite honestly.
Okay.
So I will take the time out of my day, usually in the evenings when I have more availability, and just work with them. It really doesn't take that much time out of my day or my week.
Okay. Here's a question. I'm a big fan of short forms. Do you have time? Can you continue? You want to go?
Short forms?
Well, no. First, I want to check it. It's 12:42. You've been here 45 minutes. I want to make sure you're okay with the time. I don't want to be imposing on you.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I like. I think Amy likes this one too. FFS. You know what that means? I had to look it up. I had to look them all up. For fuck's sake. Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay. Now I looked one up this week that and it has a recruit. It was used in a recruiting context, but it's FTFO. You know what that means? Can you figure it out? No, I had to look them up. I never guessed them. Okay. Fuck the fuck off. It's great.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I
but
love that.
here's what he said. He said, LinkedIn should have a feature that says, I love my fucking job to get relentless recruiters to fuck the fuck off. See, that relates to what we were talking about before. How much should you bug people? How much should you approach them? Okay. Obviously, this person is mad. but if you're,
and I encounter that a lot, either from an email or actually when I get them on the phone. They're like, you're my 10th recruiter who's contacted me from this company. Please stop.
Oh,
So
really?
at that point,
Mhm,
I'll
mhm.
ask, okay, I can go ahead and stop. But what was it about my email or voicemail that made you pick up the phone? And then
do
try to turn that into a sales call.
yeah, okay. They say if they're real smart, they would say, don't try to manipulate me. You can't fool me, okay? Something like that, okay? Fuck the fuck off. Fuck the fuck
Exactly,
off.
exactly. But why did they call me? Why are they taking the time out
You
of
know
their
what?
day?
I'm talking about Rich Rosen and Amy a lot today, and they are superstars. Okay, I was, Amy, I knew her from the show. People were, asking me sometimes to go in the odd time to speak at a conference. I don't know why. I tell them I don't know anything. For sure, I'm not going to Australia or anywhere like that. And I would recommend Amy. This is years ago, before she was a big star. I would say this girl's an incredible presenter. She's very smart. So this, I knew right away. And Rich is telling us all the time how smart he won't like it, how smart he is. He's number 11. Okay, but okay. So I lost my train of thought.
Well, you want to know a fun fact about Amy?
Go ahead.
We worked together years ago, and I introduced her to this new program called LinkedIn.
Oh, really? That's quite some time
So
ago.
I taught
assume.
her how to do her first Boolean searches on
Oh, yeah.
LinkedIn. So that tells you how long I've been in the business.
Okay, yeah.
But back
is
in the
Boolean,
day,
there's a question. Is Boolean still relevant? Is it still important for a recruiter to know how to write a good Boolean string? I saw that
yes.
debated this week. Okay, I'm in agreement with you, okay, but some people say it isn't. And they've been saying that for years. I'm going to say
Well,
8
a
years.
lot of the tools, and I'm going to pick on LinkedIn, you don't need the Boolean search string. However, if you do a full-fledged Boolean search string, you get different results even out of LinkedIn, even if you may have put in some of the same operators. But when you go in and do it as a Boolean search, a lot of times you do get different results.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Glenn, there's another superstar, Glenn Gutmacher. Do you know him?
No.
Okay, he's a somebody. He's in Boston. He went to Yale. Okay, we all know that. See, we all know these special things about certain people. Glenn went to Yale. Okay, and he says you can't do a good job with a written job description and no intake meeting with the hiring manager. There is too much going on between the lines. Because sometimes these jerks won't give you 5 minutes. That they give you a title and they won't give you much time. He said, don't take that kind of assignment. What do you say?
I think it can be ferreted out of the hiring leader. I often get jobs that they have used over and over the job description.
Yeah.
But once you start talking to them about what's the problem they're trying to solve, then you get more clues. And then, again, and I hate doing this because it is that whole recruiter thing. What is your top 3 must-haves? And that's how I find out most of what they're really looking for, and what's the most important.
Okay, but the thing is, are they? It sounds like they're first they imagine they can just give you a job description, but once you start asking questions, they don't say, "Hey, you've got everything. There's nothing else to know." They're open to having a conversation with you, right? You don't meet jerks who you have to trick into talking with you. Yeah, okay, I'll
No,
work
I
with this,
have.
but
I've
let me
had
just
some
ask you
people who
3
are just
questions.
like, that's the job description. And then I'm really honest with them. If I'm going just off of this job description, which doesn't tell me enough, I'm going to be presenting to you candidates that you did not imagine as being in that role. They have to tell me what they're looking for.
Okay, and your key question, the first one is, what are your 3 must-haves? And then what are your 3 nice-to-haves? Is that, do you ask that follow-up as well? Or, because everybody says these guys ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars. They give you a long list, and then and it's going to be in the job description, and you have to go through that list and say, rate this, okay? And then cut out the bottom 60%. Is that what happens?
Yeah, with the preferred, I do work with them on that. I'll also ask them if you could have the absolutely perfect candidate, what would that include?
Okay.
And
Any
a lot
other
of times that ferrets out a whole different skill set sometimes that they're looking for.
what if you send somebody in who fits the bill and they say it doesn't have this? What would you say to that person, the hiring manager?
I would say, you never told me. So here we go. Now I know going forward, they need to have X, Y, and Z.
How often does that happen? It's a moving target. Like you said, you have to ferret out the information. Okay. So it's just like with a child. Did you put your shoes on? Okay. Did you change your underwear? Okay. You gotta, they don't think it through. You've got to have a checklist of things that you go with. So that's essentially what you're doing, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and then when you find out what the project or problem that they're trying to solve, that lets you know more. In the organization I am now, leaders are much more forthcoming. But in my previous position, they were just standard job descriptions. Some were willing to work with me and give me a good sense of what I'm looking for. Others would not. So of course they got pushed down on my list of who to support. And honestly, I gave them crappy candidates based upon a crappy job description.
Now, would that reflect badly on you, or would you be able to go to somebody over their heads, like the VP, and say, "Look, you're going to get a bad report on me. This is why."
I have done that. I've had leaders who just don't want to tell me anything. They want to leave me out of the loop. I present to them candidates that are not optimal. I will then have that conversation with the leader. Remember when I was asking all those questions? This is why you're getting the crappy ones. If I'm still not getting anywhere, I have gone up to more senior leadership to discuss.
Yeah, I just want everyone to notice she uses this term leader, okay? Because it's just a tag, doesn't mean anything. These people are not leaders, they're idiots, okay? And I just want everyone to know that I'm a leader. I see them talking about being a leader on Twitter and stuff all the time. They're nothing. They're nothing, okay? You can call them by their first names for sure. No mister. They can be 40 years older than you, and they're no smarter. Although, what Linda just told us, I think is important. It takes a while to find out their tricks and build up that checklist and nail them, corner them on what they really need. Oh, yeah, I didn't say, yeah, just go with the job order. Well, what about this? What about, oh, yeah. You have to have some experience to be able to do that. You can't just fall off the turnip truck and know it. Am I right, Linda?
Yep, you're 100% right.
Yeah, okay. So there's a difference between you and the newbie. Although I always say, like a guy like me, I'm one of those people who do the first year over and over and over again. So if I can have 50 years of experience and not be as good as somebody who's got 6 months and has just got a talent for it, okay? There we go. Okay, so we're coming into the home stretch. Let me see if I can pick up a few really short ones, because there's some big questions we really didn't get to. You know what? This is one I thought it sounds good, but I don't know what it means. And it's from the IT point of view. It said, make the hiring process itself an attraction for candidates. Okay. And for instance, for engineers, no coding on the spot, no take home assignments for senior engineers, and a fast turnaround. So people like that. They don't want to have to invest a lot of times in a job they might not get, just like
this is bullshit. Like, you either have to do take home where you have to do live coding. You can't just like assess. I mean, it's very hard to assess the ability, the hard skill ability otherwise. So some people, they hate live coding, and some people, they hate homework tasks, and you don't know who is who. So some companies do one thing, other companies do another thing, but you can't make like an interview process like a walk in the park, the same way that like my client meetings, they are not always walks in the parks, right? You have to invest. You can't like, and I find this ridiculous that candidates nowadays, they're like, oh, so is the interview round is like 3 rounds or 4 rounds? I'm like, man, like you will spend 8 hours of your day, probably 10 hours, like for 5 years at this company. What do you care if this is like 1 hour more or less in the interview process? Like this is really dumb, what you're asking there. And I'm with candidates so blunt that like I don't care by now anymore. Like this is like, I want people to understand.
Okay,
that
Ivan, there's 2 questions. There's 2 questions. One, are you that passionate with the candidates when you talk to them? Do you say that? You say it just like he told us. I want to know, Linda, what you thought about that. Where he said, look, you're going to spend 5 years with this company. You're not willing to spend another couple of hours interviewing to find out what's going on, if it's a match. Do you like that,
because
Linda? I like it.
I exactly say like that because they're damaging themselves because they have the time in the interview process to find out if it's a match or no. If it happens that they hate the job in the probation period, it's a lose, lose, lose for all parties involved. And I do not want that.
I like that, but I don't think Linda ever talks like that to people. Am I right, Linda?
I would put it in a little gentler way, but it's absolutely true. And working in technology all these years, you have to do some sort of coding assessment, whether it's done through some kind of tool. My preference is whiteboarding during an interview. You need to know, and also what level they're at, whether they're entry level, mid. I place for very high level individuals. So we need to know, are they really like architects?
So this,
What's their level?
you know, I got that from Gergely. And maybe you know Gergely Oros. He's becoming a high profile figure in the IT community, I think, at least on social media. And so he's under the impression that this not only can be done, but it can attract people to the company. So I was wondering, let's say you've got this streamlined hiring process, which Ivan and you were saying any person with experience knows would not be a good thing. But he's saying some people would like the idea, you know, just like some people only wanted 1 COVID shot, so they got the J&J, which really was the same thing. It wasn't suitable, wasn't that good, right? That they were afraid to get 2. Okay, so, but how would you get the word out? How would you tell people, find out that, oh yeah, we have fantastic candidate experience. You know, you don't have to spend much time with us before we offer you a job. How would you get the word out to the market? Go on LinkedIn and say, hey, you're going to love interviewing with us. Anybody? Ivan, what's your take on that? Since you woke up all of a sudden, just wanted to get his name in the credits for the show. Ivan, what's your take on that?
I couldn't hear. Can you repeat?
No. Okay, yeah. If you've got a good hiring process, how would you let the market of candidates know about that?
Some companies, they have it on their blog. So they have explicitly stated on their blog, like, okay, we do this, we do that. And of course, you can announce it. So when candidates ask me, if candidates ask me, I always tell the process, right? But with companies whose hiring process is very short, I use it as a sales tool, right? So on the one hand, I don't want it to be too short. But on the other hand, if it's like super reasonably short, like, you know, technical round, manager round, hire, right? Like very like clear, like, you know, then I use it, of course, as a, like, I tell the candidate, like, you shouldn't let the candidates know that your hiring process is like very chill.
Okay, so that's still on a one-to-one basis, although you're saying they do make some kind of announcements on their blogs and things like that. They do say, hey, you're going to love interviewing with us. Linda, final word to you on that.
No comment. I work for a company that has an incredibly intense interview process.
Oh, with the leadership thing. Yeah, right. That leadership program, the rules or whatever. Okay. So you don't, it sounds like well, I won't, but some people then clearly are not believers. And I think Ivan says too, short interviews, a process is not necessarily good. It's not good to drag it out. Okay. But it's got to be thorough. Linda, is that what your view? Okay. You don't want to comment. Ivan is saying, yes,
comment.
it's got to be thorough. Okay. You know, Tyron, who I said before, he's the guy, the LinkedIn coach who advised people to be, you know, very transparent about everything, their opinions about everything. He used to do a lot of work for Amazon in Japan, and he would get his candidates in for senior roles, and he would spend hours going through the leadership rules with them. Okay. He was willing to invest tons of time coaching these people, and they were willing to do it as well because it was worthwhile. Linda Warner, Warner, is that right?
Just Warren.
Warren.
WARR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The Ukrainian animal's not so young anymore. Anyway, you know, his mind's going. Okay, but it was great having you here. I'm so happy you came. You're going to be a superstar now. You're, you know, except for Ivan at the end, you were the focus of the show. Okay. Anything else you want to say to promote yourself? How fantastic you are, or what you're looking for? Anything else?
I don't need to promote myself. I'm just fabulous.
Okay, great. It was very nice of you to come and subject yourself to everything. Ivan is Klang.so, KLANG.so. He's the IT
Yay.
recruiter. He's the IT recruiter who built his own applicant tracking system that everybody loves. And you can see from his comments that he's a passionate guy. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.